In August 2019, headlines around the world erupted with an unexpected story. President Donald Trump had expressed interest in purchasing Greenland from Denmark. Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen quickly dismissed the idea as absurd, leading to diplomatic tensions and a canceled presidential visit to Denmark. But this wasn't the first time the United States had cast covetous eyes toward the massive Arctic island. In fact, America's interest in acquiring Greenland stretches back nearly 150 years, raising an intriguing question. Why, despite multiple attempts, has the U.S. never succeeded in annexing Greenland? Imagine controlling a territory larger than Mexico, strategically positioned between North America and Europe, rich in rare earth minerals, and potentially sitting atop vast oil and gas reserves. This is Greenland, a landmass so immense that its ice sheet, if melted, would raise global sea levels by over 20 feet. For military strategists, climate scientists, and resource hunters alike, Greenland represents power projected into the increasingly contested Arctic region. During World War II, when Denmark fell under Nazi occupation, the United States effectively took protective custody of Greenland. American forces constructed airfields, weather stations, and radar installations across the island, recognizing its immense strategic importance in the northern Atlantic. With Germany's defeat, however, Denmark reclaimed its sovereignty over Greenland. Yet the question lingered: could this frozen behemoth have become American territory under different circumstances? While Secretary of State William Seward is remembered for the 1867 Seward's Folly, the purchase of Alaska from Russia, few know that his expansionist vision extended to Greenland as well. Having recognized the strategic value of Arctic territories, Seward commissioned a report on Greenland's potential acquisition. The timing, however, proved problematic. With public opinion already critical of the Alaska Purchase and Reconstruction-era politics dominating Washington's attention, Seward's Greenland ambitions quietly faded into historical obscurity. What if Seward had pressed forward? Would American flags today fly over Nuuk, Greenland's capital? The ripple effects on 20th century geopolitics would have been profound. In 1946, with the Cold War looming, President Harry Truman's administration secretly offered Denmark $100 million in gold for Greenland. This staggering sum, equivalent to over $1.3 billion today, reflected Greenland's perceived value as a bulwark against Soviet expansion into the North Atlantic. Despite financial pressures following Nazi occupation, Denmark refused to sell. Instead, Denmark's 1953 constitution fully incorporated Greenland as a Danish county, ending its colonial status. We are deeply interested in keeping Greenland, and this interest is not new, stated a classified State Department memo from the period that was declassified decades later. Yet American aspirations for outright ownership were thwarted by Denmark's determination to maintain its sovereignty over the island. Perhaps the most compelling reason why the U.S. never annexed Greenland lies with the Greenlanders themselves. The island's 56,000 residents, predominantly Inuit, have pursued increased self-governance rather than trading one foreign ruler for another. In 1979, Denmark granted Greenland home rule, and by 2009, the Self-Government Act expanded Greenlandic autonomy significantly. Today, Greenland controls its natural resources and maintains independent positions on many international issues, including a delicate balancing act between Danish, American, and Chinese interests. Greenland is not for sale, declared Greenlandic Premier Kim Kielsen in 2019, echoing the sentiments of his people who have increasingly embraced their distinct identity and right to self-determination. This evolving political consciousness represents a formidable obstacle to any annexation scenarios, regardless of strategic or economic incentives. The post, World War II international order, with its emphasis on territorial integrity and self-determination, created a framework hostile to territorial acquisitions like those common in previous centuries. Denmark's NATO membership since 1949 aligned it firmly within the American security umbrella, making Greenland's strategic assets available to the U.S. without the complications of direct ownership. The 1951 defense agreement allowing the establishment of Thule Air Base in northwestern Greenland gave America much of what it wanted: a strategic military foothold in the Arctic without the responsibilities of governing a vast, remote territory. This arrangement has persisted through the Cold War and into the 21st century, adapting to changing threats and opportunities in the region. As global warming transforms the Arctic landscape, Greenland's geopolitical value continues to appreciate. Ice retreat has exposed mineral deposits while opening new shipping routes and fishing grounds. China's self-declaration as a near-Arctic state and Russia's aggressive Arctic militarization have renewed American interest in maintaining influence over Greenland. Yet the history of failed annexation attempts suggests that direct territorial control was never the only path to securing American interests in the region. The complexity of modern international relations, Greenland's evolving autonomy, and changing conceptions of sovereignty make outright purchase or annexation increasingly anachronistic approaches to geopolitical competition. The story of America's unrequited desire for Greenland illuminates broader themes in international relations: the tension between strategic imperatives and evolving norms of sovereignty, the shift from territorial acquisition to influence projection, and the growing voice of indigenous populations in determining their political futures. While the United States never planted its flag over Greenland's ice-covered expanse, it achieved many of its strategic objectives through defense agreements, NATO partnerships, and diplomatic engagement. As climate change transforms the Arctic into an increasingly contested frontier, the question may not be why the U.S. failed to annex Greenland in the past, but whether the very concept of territorial acquisition has become obsolete in addressing 21st century challenges. The future of American-Greenlandic relations will likely be shaped not by purchase offers, but by collaborative approaches to shared concerns, environmental protection, sustainable resource development, and maintaining security in a rapidly changing Arctic landscape. In this evolving story, perhaps the wisdom lies not in lamenting failed annexation attempts, but in recognizing that influence and partnership may ultimately prove more valuable than ownership.